Hey, Senda.
Hey, Phil.
Do you want to talk more about collaborative world building?
I mean, always, but...
Only if we do it together?
Yes, you got it. Didn't we? Haven't
Yeah.
we?
Uh-huh.
Deja vu?
Nah, not so deja, not so vu. But yes, we have done it before. And welcome to another episode of Panda's Talking Games. I'm your host who loves to collaborate about campaigns, Phil.
And I am your other host who loves to collaborate about one-shots, Senda. So tonight's topic comes to us from Pterodactyl U, who asked us on Twitter, I just listened to the collaborative world building episode. Could you talk about that in a one-shot? Background, I'm planning a one-shot of Dresden and doing all the city prep myself seems sad, but doing all of it together would take too long.
By the way, Pterodactyl U has gone to all remote classes for the rest of the semester.
Yeah, haven't we all?
Yeah. Brontosaurus U wanted to keep classes open, but now they're extinct. So that's what happens.
Wow. There were some students in Pterodactyl U who were like, everything seems to be fine now. I think we've overreacted because, the social distancing actually worked.
Yes, of course. So Pterodactyl U is referring to episode 171, where we talked about collaborative world building and talked about doing it during session 0 as well as mid-game. And all of that was pretty much implied that it was going to be a collaborative effort in a campaign, not so much for a one-shot. Also, based on the fact that Pterodactyl U was listening to episode 171, this note may have been lingering in the topics pile.
Might have been there for
a little while. So
a little bit.
Sorry.
Hope your Dresden one shot went well.
Yeah, the Dresden thing was fine. This will help you for your next one. Tonight we're gonna talk about collaborative world building in terms of doing it for one shots, pretty much in the same way we did in episode 171. Which, don't worry, you don't remember that because it was 30 episodes ago.
Right, which is nearly a year. It's like 2/3 of a year.
Yeah. So don't worry about the structure. It'll seem new to you, but just know that I went back to the show notes and pulled all that stuff out.
He's very proud of himself. So, Phil, can you give us a recap on collaborative world building, but now with a focus on one-shots?
Yeah. We can just try to do this quickly, right? Let's start breaking it down with world building, right? World building is an activity where we create details about the setting of the game, right? Mm-hmm. And we can do this for really large things, like the details for a country or a war, or we can do it for really small things, like little elements about an inn or something about the town that you're in the middle of the game. Mm-hmm. Okay. Collaborative means that the job of world building is shared by the group and not designated to one person, which in many traditional games, that one person is often the GM. Mm-hmm. And there are a whole bunch of reasons why collaborative world building is really good for any game, and we'll just list a few right here.
Yeah, increased creativity is one of them. And it's something that I certainly feel when it comes to doing this stuff, right? So when it comes to creative things, when you collaborate, it always makes things more interesting. And collaborative creativity will always push things out of people's comfort zones because we all think differently about stuff.
Mm-hmm. Collaborative world building is also a form of love lettering, right? So by having players contribute to parts of the world, they're telling you things that they find interesting about the world and most likely would like to encounter and deal with in the course of a game.
Yeah. And then it's also less work for the GM, right? Because it actually reduces the workload on the GM because they don't have to come up with everything on their own or figure out what people are into, like we just said with love lettering. And that is always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's increased emotional investment, right? So by having other people in the game create things that they're interested in, then they have a heightened emotional investment about those things and then the game in general.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to episode 171, 30 whole episodes ago, we talked about the usefulness of this technique in your campaign, but it's just as useful in one-shots, though we're going to recommend you do it a little differently for one-shots.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about using it when you're getting your one-shot started.
And then, just like episode 171, I'm going to talk about how to use it when you are in the middle of running your one-shot.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So let's start with the start of the game. Very good place to start. In campaigns, collaborative world building is something that you do to build out the campaign world itself, and then to provide a lot of different potential story hooks and things that you get to use in future sessions, right? You're laying out like a whole minefield of stuff for people to start wandering through or to pick out, what's the most interesting to start with, right? So the key difference here is that with a one-shot, you really need to be much more focused. The only thing that you're really concerned about with a one-shot are the things that are going to be used in the one-shot. This game has no future. It's just a one-shot.
This is it.
This is it. Right?
So the one caveat to that is, if your goal is to flip this one-shot into a campaign, right, then your focus can be a bit broader. But we're not even going to talk about that tonight, right? We're going to keep it to one and done.
Right, we're going to keep it to assuming that this is a one-shot, like a convention-style one-shot, right?
Yeah.
So your world building then needs to only build the things that are of immediate use to your actual game that you're going to be running in this slot. There's a lot of different things you may need, but I think we can pretty much narrow it down to 4 kind of categories here that we're going to run through, right? Mm-hmm. So the first one being, you are probably going to need some locations to be used in that adventure.
Yeah, this is going to help create the major backdrops for where the action of this one-shot is going to take place. In some ways, a location can also be in opposition, right? Like, so a tall mountain, a rushing river, that kind of thing. So in some ways, a location can double up and be not only a location, but also a little bit of opposition or challenge. Mm-hmm. The location could be where the characters start the game, right? So we might ask the question like, describe the bar that your crew hangs out in between jobs.
You meet at an inn.
Yeah. And it might also be the thing that you collaboratively build might also be the location of the adventure or the job, depending on your, terminology for your game. So, I might ask something like, tell me about the Asher Orbital. Which of its many defenses do you think is the most terrifying?
Right. I love that. You might also be looking for character backgrounds, right? And this is building the world off of attaching the character to it.
Yeah, and this is going to be information that's going to help the players kind of quickly invest and focus on who their characters are. And it may be something that you can pull into later game, right? Like when it comes to character background stuff, it's kind of hit and miss. Like sometimes they'll just name something and you're like, cool. And you don't need to pick it up and do anything else with it. But it's just a thing that they're kind of known for, right? Or they know now about their character. And other times they'll mention something and you'll be like, and you'll just jot that down on an index card. Yeah, yep. Write a note. I'm going to pull that in later, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes.
My experience with character background stuff as an improv GM is that I can juggle approximately 1 to 3 character backgrounds in terms of weaving them into my story per one shot, and I really can't do more than that unless they're like all related to each other, right? Like
I don't attempt to achieve this as much as I will throw some questions out there, and then if something really sticks, if something's really good, I'll just write it right down. And then other times it's just hit and miss. Like maybe all of a sudden mid-game I'll throw something in. Like I remember playing a Lasers and Feelings game, and one of the characters had just broken up with their girlfriend, and then like I immediately on the fly towards the start of the game decided that the rival group that was on the same site doing the same mission, the girlfriend was I mean,
of course.
What else do you do,
right? How could you not? I mean, how do you resist that kind of dramatic temptation?
Yeah, so that was the kind of thing where it was just like, okay, that was an interesting background tidbit from your character, and I could have just let it slide. But then I was like, in mid-game, I was like, no, that This scene
is
right here
too delicious.
will be way better if the door opens and the girlfriend catches him snooping around than rather than just some operative.
Some mook. Yeah.
Yeah. So like this, so the kind of question, because we've been doing questions for each of these. The kind of question like I might ask in a game is like, tell me about your hometown. What is it best known for?
Right. Or what is the major export from your hometown?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I definitely dig that. Tell me about another one that we can collab on.
Yeah, I love doing this one too. You can collaborate on the opposition itself, which is an improv GM means I don't have to figure out all the details before I sit down at the table.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I love this, right? Because it gives the players a little chance to love letter some of the things about the opposition that they're going to face, because that makes it more exciting for them.
More exciting, and it tells you what they think is cool.
Yeah, it also, in a way, like if they, like if I'm making the fire mage, right, then I might decide that, like, this thing is made of ice or whatever. Like,
Right.
like I may make it my arch nemesis, right? Like,
yeah,
that kind of thing. So a question like I might ask is like, tell me about the Scarlet Sisterhood. What kind of crime do they specialize in?
yeah. And then the last one, and I love doing this one too, right, is you can ask them to build hooks for the adventure for you, right?
Yes.
So this is that thing where you as the GM then don't have to work at trying to get them to take the bait. You just say, why, like, here's the bait. Why are you going to take it? Explain it to me. This is the question you must answer.
Yeah, in fact, I will actually say that if you do any of the collaboration above, this is the one you should always do. If you do none of the other ones and just wrote your own stuff, or you're going to make it up on the fly by yourself, at least collaborate on the hook for the adventure.
Yes.
It makes such a better adventure when the players help define it. Again, you're playing a one-shot, so as fast as you can get an emotional commitment to the plot of the game,
yes,
the better it is. And one of the fastest ways to do that is for the player to basically tell you why they're invested in this.
Right. And why their character, based on their perception of their character, if it's a pre-gen, right?
Yep.
They're saying why their perception of their character would care about this, and it means they have to come up with a reason.
Absolutely. The question I would normally ask for this, right, like would be something along the lines of like, when did you know that your Uncle Thaddeus was involved with the cult? Right? Like, that's a great leading question, which we'll talk about in a second. For one of my probably more famous Hydro Hacker adventures, Redwater Blues,
yes,
this hook is the way I emotionally invest all the players in the heist that is coming up, right? Like, why are you invested in this project to bring pure water, blue water to babies, right?
I know, and you get really interesting answers. Yes. I've answered it a lot of different ways myself, but my favorite ways have been not mine. My favorite ways have been things like Tony sitting down at your table and being like, I'm taking care of this baby. It's not mine, but I have to take care of it because its parents are dead. They were related to him somehow. I don't remember.
Sister, I think.
Yeah, it was his sister's baby.
Yeah.
Like, and he needed blue water for this baby.
Yeah. And I mean, those kinds of answers, it creates that emotional bond. And like, once that bond's in place, you got commitment to the story. And then that's what generates like productivity and follow through on the story. Like, once these players are committed, like, no, we have to save this project. I have to get water for my nephew. Like, now we're going places.
Yep. Yeah. And the key thing to notice about all of the questions that Phil was asking as sample questions is that we're not asking super broad questions on this, like, tell me about the kingdom. You know, we're not being really sweeping here because we don't have a lot of time. So these are all leading questions. You already know a lot of the details of the world, and you're asking them to focus in on the pieces that you need to fill in and have them connect with for the collaboration, right? So that's kind of, that is a key thing. And so you're being much more focused in your questions, and then you will be much more focused in the collaboration and the answers that you get, right? So technique-wise, you should probably seed a few of these questions early in the story, but you probably also won't have time to detail out an entire list of questions. Now, having said that, if you're like, I have very little time and you need to limit it to one set of questions, ask them how they're into the adventure, just to revisit that. If you only have time for one thing, do that one. But since you don't have a session 0, and you may also be doing some kind of character gen for the start of the one-shot, whatever it is, your time is probably limited. So pick a few questions for the players to answer at the start and then get the game going. So you might ask one person a quick location. You might ask one person a quick thing about the opposition. You might ask one person a quick thing about like the something about their background or the backgrounds of a shared background of the group. And then based on that, get everybody's hooks. Make them answer it so you know why they're invested, and then get the game going, right? So you've got to kind of keep that a little bit limited. But having done that at the beginning of the game, Phil, why don't you tell us more about doing it in the middle of the game?
Right. So now that you're mid-game, right, you can still use all of these same techniques that we just talked about at the beginning, but now you need to be a little more cognizant of your time. Right? Collaborative efforts are always longer than just doing something solo. So depending on how your time management of this one shot is going, you need to be selective when doing this. Because at this point, by mid game and especially mid to end game, so the top of the big bad rising action and just before the climax.
Yes.
At that point, you really want to be using more of the material you already established than establishing new material.
Right. So at this point, we're past the part where we're doing large collaborative building because we did all of that at the start of the game.
Yeah. In fact, in many cases, you're actually better off not doing too much collaborative world building at this stage, but really working on reincorporation.
Yeah. I'm going to throw in an exception to that before I talk further about reincorporation. And that exception is if you are an improv GM like me, and you are not sure where something is going, how to use something, etc., need a new location for something because you didn't plan on it, or have found yourself in a place you didn't plan on being and now need a description, those are all ways that you can still source the table for that collaborative world building. Ask specific questions so that you keep it really tight and focused still, and, keep going. Basically, ask them for the answers to how they want the rest of the session to go, and then run it for them. That's how that works. Anyway, but the key for the reincorporation is that you want to close all the loops on the stuff that you did at the beginning. So this is when you're taking the things that you created or established early in the game, and then you have to use them, like actually use them, right? So for instance, as the players discover the cult, they may find out that Uncle Thaddeus is the leader of the cult, right? Or
dun, dun, dun.
Someone from one of the players' hometowns is part of the cult and recognizes them and is something happens, either, good or bad, like, oh no, they're here to stop us, or hey, what are you doing here? All of that
stuff.
Yeah,
and if you are going to do some collaborative world building mid-game, again, use those really tight leading questions. Don't leave it wide open. So if it's somebody from the town recognizes you and you want to push it off to the player, you can be like, hey, Senda, when you turn around, the cultist looks at you and you totally remember them. Why did you leave them in the middle of the prom?
Yep. Oh boy.
Right? I mean, I know my audience here, right? So I'm tossing you the perfect.
Yes, I love it.
Right? The perfect question for that. But again, if you're going to do these mid-game, because time is of the essence, and I say this because time management, I think, is one of the hardest GMing skills to master. And so a lot of people, especially in one-shots, wind up behind where they should be time-wise. Mm-hmm. And this technique, while it is awesome, can sometimes slow down. And you want to be just moving through you want to be grooving through these sections. So again, deploy those really pointed leading questions that'll help speed things up.
Yeah.
But I will go back and say that as you get towards the third act, right? So again, if I'm calling it the third act, right, I'm calling it like basically right before the climax and then forward. By that point, you really want to just be into reincorporation.
Yeah, so it pays off on the anticipation of the answer to an earlier question, right? Because now you get to reincorporate that cool thing that they were like, oh, cool side thing, and then you just tie it right in to the stuff that's going on, and everybody goes, oh, ooh.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to our brains love closed loops, right?
Yeah.
So, this is why Chekhov's gun exists, right? If you put the gun on the mantle, like you have to go shoot the gun at some point, right? So if I'm asking you a bunch of leading questions at the beginning of the session, my goal is to try to get them all worked in to the adventure. Now, my favorite exercise in this that I ever witnessed years before I became a improv game master was John Arcadian, who at the start of a game took a piece of butcher paper, put it down on the table to use as both his map and his notes for the game, and asked everyone to just name random elements out loud, like with no connection, right? Like somebody's like, oh, in a theater, and somebody's like, with fireballs, and like just named random elements. And then he proceeded for the rest of the game to just source that list and just spent the rest of the 3 hours reincorporating pieces from it. And when he reincorporated one, he would take his marker and cross it off the butcher sheet. It was really good, right? Like I was at that point not a improv GM, and I was like in utter awe. Like I was like, what is even happening here, right?
I know when we started recording this show, you were in awe that I could run a game off of an index card, but you can do that too now. I spent my the last 4 years, like honing that skill. I know. All
right.
It's very good.
So what we're saying is, in terms of pacing your game, right? Your early game, you should be building up a lot of potential. Ask leading questions, do collaborative world building, build up a little stockpile of material, right? Details, objectives, locations, challenges, things like that. And then in your late game, you should be all about paying them off, right? Getting them reincorporated and just paying it off.
Yeah. And when we talk about paying things off, it is time to pay off the opening of the show by getting to the closing of the show, right? But before we do that, I'm going to tell you about another show on the Misdirected Mark Network. On Bonus Experience, Ray and Monica are two old friends exploring gameplay and design through the lens of diversity, while also sharing some of the dumbest humor that gaming has to offer. And also fizzy water. A thing that I have bonded with them over frequently, because we are all aficionados.
Yes.
The fizzy
Indeed.
water. Sparkly water.
Say, Senda.
Uh-huh.
Where do people reach us on the internet?
Well, you can find us on Twitter at Pandas Talk Games. You can find us in the Misdirected Mark forums, or you can drop us an email, panda@misdirectedmark.com. And Phil, once they find us in one of those places, what can they do with that information?
Much like Pterodactyl, you can give us a topic for the show. Ask us a question, postulate something for us to expand upon, throw some random words at us, whatever it is. I'm pretty crafty about making shows out of something.
Raccoon carrots.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. That's an April Fool's episode. Unfortunately, that one's passed. But anyway,
we missed our chance to do Hot Pocket raccoon carrots. I don't know what to do now.
Anyway, toss us out topics for the show. Look, we've been doing this for 4 years. I say it every week. We don't make up these topics ourselves. We get them from you, and the only way we can keep this show running is if you keep sending them. To be honest, I actually need to cull the list and delete most of it and start fresh. So please start thinking of your topics and get them out to us on any of the ways that Senda mentioned about reaching us. It would be a big help. If you like what we do here elsewhere on the Misdirected Mark Network, please consider, if you can, supporting our Patreon campaign. Obviously, we recognize in these difficult times as people are being laid off and things like that, that you do what you got to do. But if there is a way for you to support the Patreon, or you're currently supporting the Patreon, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. The Patreon campaign is what keeps the lights on here at Misdirected Mark headquarters. Hosting, bandwidth, gear, hosts, all of that stuff. If you support the Patreon, you get access to all sorts of great things. Come join us in the Slack Room for Life. It is probably the biggest draw that we offer. It is full of awesome humans talking about really fun things. Right now, during our pandemic, we're having Friday luncheons where you can come hang out on Zoom.
And I'm starting to run asynchronous letter writing games via Slack.
Yep, that's happening. That's happening in another Slack room.
Yep.
You can come play Minecraft with us if you're so inclined. That's a thing we do enjoy. A number of us enjoy quite a bit. We also have the bonus outtakes from the show, the after show from Misdirected Mark. Occasionally, when we spin Encoded Designs back up to doing something other than weathering the pandemic, we'll probably give some stuff away as well. So we like to do all those things. We also like to shout out to some of our patrons each episode. We can't shout out to all of them. It would take too long, but we find 3 lovely patrons each episode to shout out to. Who are they this week?
They are Kevin Lovecraft, the Royal Beard. Thanks, Kevin. Brantley Harris. Thank you so much, Brantley. And Jeff Stevens. Thanks, Jeff.
Yes. Now, if you listen to us, you will love us.
Here we go again.
That is our 2020. That is our 2020 marketing campaign. And to further that goal, we need to get more people to listen to us. And the way more people listen to us is how?
Well, you can leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or the podcatcher of your choice. Every new review we get really does actually help new people find the show. And if we read them, like if you let us know where you left it so we can go read it, then they're like super happy making endorphin artistic validation pills. Right? So like, Thank you to everybody who's already left a review. We really do appreciate them a lot. They're lovely and you're lovely people.
Yeah, they're delightful. We really do like them. We actually, when we stumble upon one, we wind up texting each other.
Like, oh my gosh!
Yes. Wind up texting each other, and then we like come back and watch them. And we're like, oh, so sweet. Yeah. All right. Let's say, Senda, how are you going to pick the world building questions for the start of your next one shot?
This show is a joint production of She's a Super Geek and Misdirected Mark Productions, the media arm of Encoded Designs.
Show me what you got, eh? Show me what you got. Show me what you got, eh? Show me what you got. Show me what you got, eh? Show me what you got. Show me what you got, eh?
Bloopy. Do I get to eat my brownie yet?
Yeah, we can.
I want to eat my brownie.
Welcome to the bonus outtakes or outtakes
or the normal outtakes. I don't know where it's going to go.
Depends on which one.
We can't presume.
It's not the regular show.
More. It's not the regular show.
You're eating a brownie?
I made chocolate brownies from scratch yesterday. They're very good. Sometimes I overcook them a little bit, but this time I got it perfect.
I'm having a little chocolate love.
Bloop. I ordered 5 more books today.
Oh, I have a bag coming.
You have a bag coming, and you have a seat cushion coming.
I do.
I got a surprise today. I meant to talk about this earlier.
Yeah.
I got a gift today from Past Senda. Past Senda backed the Shinobigami Kickstarter.
Right.
And current Senda completely forgot that Past Senda went kind of all in and got the actual like hardcover print.
It's funny. I forgot to tell you about it because I saw somebody in the States post a picture of it on Twitter, and I was like, I kind of remember that you backed all the way through to a physical copy.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention it to you to keep your eye out for it, but I'm kind of glad now that I didn't.
No, it was one of these, like, I heard the guy come to the door. I heard the package delivery beep. And then I was like, oh, I got to go grab that at some point. But it's snowing and I don't have any socks on because I don't have a toenail. So, like, sticking my head outside is not always my faves. And so, which, side note, best time to get a toenail removed would be lockdown when no one expects you to wear socks or shoes for a long period of time.
You've been kind of fortunate for that.
Oh, it's worked out really well. But anyway, so I was like, I heard the beep and then like I went out and I was like, there's a package. It's for me. It's not from Amazon. I have no idea what this is. I must have ordered something and forgotten about it. And I was like, this is a present from past Senda. And then I opened it and I was like, it's Shinobigami. I'm so excited. It's been a long time. I mean, they had some trials and tribulations. They had like a freaking tsunami and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm impressed that they saw it all the way through, because we had the PDF version, the full PDF version, which is why I was kind of like, oh, whatever, it's been fulfilled. Like, I probably just backed the PDF because I do that a lot. But no, I have a print copy of Shinobigami, which I now need to read because, damn, that's probably one that I could run for my peeps.
Yeah, there you go. Bloop. It's funny. My big purchase, besides my bag and my seat cushion coming, is I bought a new coffee mug. So I know you've seen it because you've seen it on both Misdirected Mark and you see it when we record. My silver mug with the red handle is this like old Starbucks mug that my mom gave me, but the handle plastic the plastic that makes up the handle is breaking apart.
Yes.
And it's not as much fun to hold anymore. So I got a nice, I got a new shiny black travel coffee mug from Contigo. I think it's the same people make your water bottle, right?
Contigo.
Yeah. So I got this I got this cool thing. You'll see it on Misdirected Mark tomorrow because I'll bring a coffee down for the recording. But I like it a lot, and it's like I can clip it to my bag in a pinch. Anyway, it's cool.
I mean, tonight I am drinking out of the Double Clicks.
Nice. I am sporting the Camelback Eddy sippy
fair.
cup. The giant sippy cup water. This is the one with the straw in the thing.
Well, yeah, like my Contigo was my replacement for my Camelback that finally croaked, and I couldn't, like, it was just way less expensive at the time to get this one. But now this one has all of the stickers on it, and I can't bear to be parted from it.
Yes. My other one that I have, because this Eddy is not my travel one, because this one will leak.
Yeah, I know. This one leaks too. That's why nobody's seen this at conventions and stuff.
I have the Shoot
Leaks
2.
on planes. Leaks on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. I have the Shoot 2 from Camelback with the Shoot 2 that has the magnetic top. So when you unscrew the little thingy, it actually, like when you flip it back, it sticks to the water bottle, so it won't like hit you in the face and you don't have to hold it. But that thing never leaks, and that one I can throw in my one I can throw in my bag.
We're 12 minutes in almost.
I know, we gotta stop. It's time to go.
We're talking nonsense.
I know.
About
Listen,
mugs.
mugs.
You haven't even commented on my ears.
Listen, if I commented on every time you were on video with ears, like we would have it would have its own segment of the show.
Would that be a bad thing? Also, now people think I don't normally have any ears.
I said things with ears.
Did you say things with ears? I think you said
ears.
Every time you're on the show with ears.
No, I'm pretty sure you have ears every time you come on the show. I'm pretty sure that's not a thing that you forget as you're walking.
Yeah, I'm like, gotta make sure I attach these ears.
And why are you not in uniform? That's a TikTok meme.
Yes,
all right.
it is.
Let's commence with the show.
Good. The show. See, no one is going to be able to find you on TikTok because you didn't make your handle the thing that they'll find.
No, the thing made it automatically for me.
You can change it.
Well, maybe I'll change it at some point.
It should probably be Denafil.
DNA Phil. Are you ready?
Yes.
Meow.
Okay. Meow. Meow. Bloop.
Cue music.
Not so Deja, not so What? Oh boy, you're gonna fuck me up on this part, aren't you?
Hey, see? You
Did I do it right?
Yeah, good job. Get head pats.
With my ears.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along.
We got to get this podcast restarted.
Yes.
This podcast has been in lockdown too long. We need to get it restarted right now.
Boy.
I'll get it restarted. I have ultimate authority.
Yeah. Yeah, no. If I don't edit it, it doesn't start. It doesn't go. It doesn't matter what you say. You make as many notes as you want.
Okay, shh. We gotta get the story started.
Okay.
You're gonna be crying when you have to edit this.
I'm already crying.
All right, stop. Bloop. So pterodactyl, pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl.
So.
I don't even know if I can put this in the bonus outtakes.
Oh, I feel like it can go in the bonus
okay,
outtakes.
Good.
That is actually one of my that's one of my favorite album titles.
Hot Pocket Raccoon Carrots?
Yeah.
Yeah, was that Vent Magnetic?
Vent Magnetic, you're right.
Okay, cool.
Dead on. Look at you.
Show me what you got. Show me
Show me what you got.
Show me what you got. Show me what you got.
Look at that, 43 minutes.
I
That's
know,
not
I was
terrible.
super duper excited about that. And I think that part of the answer is it's going to be relationship building questions between angels, because I'm pretty sure the next game, well, I'm probably not going to run it. Wen's probably going to run it because he's played it before. But I'm pretty sure the next game that we're going to play is Are You There, God? It's the quarterly earnings report. Yeah.
I think you should ask the following questions. You should just, and these are open questions for people to yell out people's names. Like have everyone describe their characters and then be like, which one of you is the biggest sinner? Right? Which one of you is God's suck up? Right? Like you should just,
just which one of you always just repeats what everybody else just said, but says it with slightly different words to make it sound like it's your idea?
Yeah. You should just actually what you should do is come up with questions based on the worst
office stereotypes.
Yes.
Is the thing, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Which one of you is the micromanager?
Yep. Which one of you always forgets to prepare for the meeting?
Which one of you arrives to the meeting on their scooter? Like,
which one of you has the work from home pet that's just like constantly like in the face?
There's like some cherub,
like sticking.
Yeah, you should definitely add that as
fun.
The questions.
Although you have to be careful because like the special powers that you get are things like, quote, forgetting to mute your mic and like, oops, my camera went off for a little while. Those are like actually angel powers, which is
no, that's fine. But I mean, those awful office stereotypes are just gold.
So you can't be like the person who forgets to mute their mic always, or
no,
the one
but you
with
got
the
to be
bad
like
internet.
One of these angels is the disruptor bro. Right? Like everybody else is like, old fashioned and doing it wrong. Disruptor bro knows how to bring in like the prayers.
Right.
Yeah, you've got like, then, you got to have that one. You got to have the grizzled vet who's so jaded, nothing works.
Nothing works.
Oh, you think that hasn't been tried before? 1840 through 1880. Totally tried that. Nothing.
Didn't work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, these are
didn't work, okay?
You got to have like the angel who's got like a side job.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've worked with all of these people at various
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
life.
right? Disruptor bro is, I would play that angel in like 10 seconds.
Oh boy.
Oh, you got to have another one who's like, which angel is nothing but workplace jargon?
Yeah, oh my god. Which angel communicates in nothing but buzzwords?
Right. Like, what we're going to have to do here is synergize our processes, get some downline prayers moving forward in a just-in-time manner for fulfillment.
Wow. What are you doing Thursday night?
I'm running DCC.
All right.
your game group and mine are on the same nights.
It's true. You will
know.
never play with us, and it's too bad because this is your opportunity because we're all remote anyway.
I know.
Anyway.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right. Anyway.
We should wrap this up because we were at 43
say goodbye
minutes
now.
and now we're not.
I know, but there were many laughs in here.
Yes, it's good.
Can you say goodbye?
All right, bye.
Bye. And stop.